All right, let's start this meeting. This is Yukon Economic Development Authority. We're meeting at the Centennial Building, 12 South 5th Street in the great city of Yukon, Oklahoma. It's 5 o'clock here, August 13th, 2025. We'll call this meeting to order. Can we do the roll call?
Jeff Wooten.
Here.
Adam Shriver.
Here.
Ryan Crossley.
Here.
Chase Tippins. David Goodwin.
Here.
Pam Shelton. Here. Justin Ellis.
All right. All right, next item, discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of July 15th, 2025 special meeting. Do I have a motion?
So move. Second.
All right, there we go. All
Who
right.
is the second? I'm sorry. Shriver?
I second.
All right, any discussion on this? No discussion? All right, let's call roll on this one.
Wooten.
Yes.
Shriver.
Yes.
Crossley.
Yes.
Goodwin.
Yes.
Shelton. Yes.
All right. All right, next item, discussion and possible action to elect a vice chairperson for the Yukon Economic Development Authority. Do we have any nominations on this? I would like to nominate Justin Ellis.
Second.
Any other nominations? Okay, well, let's do the roll call on that one.
Wooten.
Yes.
Shriver.
Yes.
Crossley.
Yes.
Tippins. Goodwin.
Yes.
Shelton. Yes.
All right. So the vice chair will be Mr. Ellis. He'll be here shortly. All right, next item, discussion and possible action regarding the step-by-step permitting process for business, including input from individuals who have recently completed a brand-new build and others who have gone through the building permit process. Do we have some people lined up for this, Madam Clerk?
Then Michael, is Michael here? Okay, yep.
Mr. Carnuccio, how are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
See you.
You can give us your name and the
Yep.
business that you own.
Yeah, Michael Carnuccio, address 1240 West Southwest 59th in Mustang. Business that we own is Miller Main Street, 425 West Main, the old Mercantile Building, and then also Patriot Land Company, which has a little bit of activity that I think crossover there off Ranchwood Boulevard and Yukon Parkway. But really, Miller Main Street's where most of the work has been done.
So can you give us kind of, you did a remodel on your,
Yes, sir.
can you kind of
Yep,
give us the step-by-step of what you remember of just the whole process of from when you walked in and said, hey, I want to do a remodel till it was done, working with the city?
Yeah, and this was the first project, hopefully of many, that I'll be doing here with the city. So most of my experience has been with some other municipalities, like one that's east of ours, a little bit bigger. And I found like the responsiveness, answers to questions, the ability to contact somebody was like night and day different. And then when I'm not knowledgeable enough to do the actual development and construction piece. So the contractor, the general contractor I have, I'm gonna rely a lot on what he's saying. And he loves working with the city of Yukon, right? And so I'm happy to give you his name and you can talk to him. Some of you may know him already, but in fact, we're in the middle of now, we just submitted some documentation because we're getting ready to do another remodel and open the coffee shop and deli down there. And like, he's ready and excited and ready to go, right? So yeah, that would be my 35,000 foot view, night and day difference from other municipalities.
Okay. I see you're also installing a new parking lot.
Yes, sir.
Get-
Yeah.
Any process on that?
Yeah,
Is it any
I'll tell you.
challenges or any good or bad or whatever?
Yeah, if you're looking for candid feedback, I'll tell
Please.
you the one thing during this whole journey that was a little confusing, like around the parking lot, is we're trying to get occupancy for a building, and we're trying to remodel a building, and we've got one part of the city that's saying, well, you can't get occupancy until you have this, but on the other hand, well, I can't do that until, and it felt like I was having to communicate a little bit in between. So once I raised that issue and said, look, I don't understand, I don't know the rules, I'm just trying to get this done, what do I do? Man, like, it was easy to get a meeting, get things explained, everything else. But at first, for someone that was first coming in to work with the city, it kind of felt like I've got to ask your permission to rezone land to build a parking lot that you're telling me I have to build to open a business to pay taxes. Like, why am I the one in trouble here? Like, can you two talk and then get back to me with a piece of paper and tell me how much I owe? That was kind of my thought process at first. But when I stepped in to ask that question, man, everybody was ready, had answers, like things moved. And the process of going through planning commission to city council and everything else was smoother than I expected. It was, the development team has been great. Every time I email or call with a question, like, there's an answer and then some. So, I mean, look, I'll just be candid to the point of, we're talking now about what's the next development we can do here. We don't want to do a development elsewhere, like, how can we do more around here? And so I hope to be in front of you talking about that again in the future.
Anybody on the board have any questions?
I would like to chime in on it. I don't have any questions. I'm with him. I opened a business here and out west, and out in a different town. And when I did it out west, I got a play-by-play book.
Yeah.
Here's your contact. He has any questions, and it was night and day difference. Here was tough. So I agree with everything he said there.
Okay. Do you need to make it easier? Anybody down
Yeah,
here?
yeah, if I can, to that
Absolutely.
point, there's policy and there's personnel. And I know a lot of times in management, we say personnel is policy, but the personnel here has been great. The policy is what was hard and what was tough. So when I was describing before in terms of like the steps and the hoops, and then I got to do this, and one department sending me this and the other one, that's the part that made it a little bit challenging at first. But the personnel, when I would reach out and talk and need to go meet and sit down and what does this mean and what do you need from me, that part's been great.
So what would you recommend from, as a business owner, that the city could work on? I know you say talking, but is there anything else that you see that could make just everything streamline a little bit more? Because, we're open for business. We want people here.
I appreciate the question, and I recognize that government and business run differently. So you've got certain barriers and parameters you'll have to operate on that this may not apply. But to me, from our side, when we're looking to do a development, right, we approach it, there's a vision, we put a plan together, and we get everybody that's going to be part of it. The GC's in there. If the bank's involved, the bank's part of it, right? We've got subs. Everybody's in a room on a plan. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What do we got to do? And let's go do it, right? It feels like on the other side, if that happened too, like if there was a meeting and a developer came in and said, hey, I'm going to build an apartment complex right here, and you guys say, oh, that's great, like we should do that. Does that meeting happen internally for you? Like in 30 minutes that the 4 departments involved are around the table and say like, hey, this, you're going to track this, we're going to get it done, and you're the point person to respond to them. Like, if that was the experience, you would start turnkey development and word would get out and people would start coming, because nobody does that. Which is why I opened up with saying, I don't know if you can do that, right? I don't know if the structure works that way.
My contact was direct to my inspector out there, and he
Yeah.
met me there at every inspection. When I did my inspection here, I never even, like, my inspector was hiding from me nearly almost. He was in, obviously, but there was no, hey, I'll see you there at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And show me what I was doing wrong. Instead, I'm just getting a failed sticker, and then it turned into an egg hunt,
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? No? Thank you, sir.
Man, I appreciate it. Look forward to being here
Thank
again.
you. Appreciate you.
Yep.
All right. Do we have anyone else, Madam Clerk?
I don't think so.
Mr. Neely texted me. He said that he got stuck in traffic. But he said, my only real issue would have been how long it takes to get approvals and the amount of steps involved. I just wanted to build a building. He said Danielle was amazing and extremely helpful, answered all my questions, all my concerns. I know it's just the process, but I wish it could have been a little more streamlined. So, and Brian Neely, he's got a couple of businesses here in town. So it's kind of what we're talking about there as well. Mr. Deckard, any thoughts on this? Put you on the spot.
No problem. Appreciate the question. Mr. Carnuccio, thank you so much for your feedback. As we have moved through this process the last 2.5, 3 months, the goal is to streamline everything within the rules and the guidelines of the state statute. And we have had a massive turnover, and that is not an obstacle, that's an opportunity. And we have Ms. Danielle, she has absolutely stepped up, and her staff has stepped up, and so we look forward to working with the developers, and any feedback we get helps us be better, and that's what we're about. So I appreciate this meeting and the kind words and the words that helps us be better, and we will be efficient, effective, and elite, no question about it.
Do you think there's room for things to be more streamlined?
Yeah, absolutely. I am not an expert by no means, but in every form of government, any form of organization, there's always better ways and more efficient ways. And Miss Danielle and Arnold and myself have been sitting talking about it, and she has all kinds of ideas to make it more efficient and more effective. Now, we're guided by state statute. We can't circumvent that, and no means will we ever do that, but we will get the efficiency to where it needs to be underneath those statutes. So there's no question.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate the question.
Okay, I have had several people come into the chamber office and want to sign up and get a permit. And then I've had several people open a business and didn't even know they had to have a permit. So I don't know if we do packets and we can have them at the chamber and different places around town, or, instructions. But I think some people just have no idea that you have to have a permit to come to town. And we've had several, and we send them to developmental services. But we can have packets at the chamber also to send them. So that's just something we can add.
And the response to that is again, appreciate it. Pam and I have talked, and another part of where we're headed is a comprehensive marketing and communication plan through Jenna's office, who is going to continue to work through getting that information out and connecting. It's like, Vicki does a really good job of Main Street. She feels like sometimes she's out on an island, and we want to incorporate everybody in on this process. So it's not just one column down through, we're funneling everybody into the same place so they understand the process. So we start with processes and procedures. We get with the experts to do that, and then as they direct those and they develop those, then we develop that communication plan around those to get that word out. And you can't reach everybody, but Michael said that, once you get the ball rolling, then they start kind of coming in, and then they start talking to themselves or amongst themselves. And so that helps through the process also. So it's just about jump starting the process, getting it going, get those policies, procedures, get those out communicated. And then when they start coming in, we're ready to roll. And as we've seen in the past week or so, we're going to be prepared for what comes on our way, or comes to our way. So we're working on that also. So it's a massive, comprehensive plan. So
Very good. Vicki, you have any comments on this? You talk with a few businesses here and there.
Yeah.
If you want to touch on that, if you can.
So.
Just kind of what you hear or what you.
If you have a more specific question, that will help me to frame. But exactly, so some of the responses that we've had through our Main Street programming have been to what we've heard from the businesses and with the licenses. So Pam's on our board, Danielle's on our Main Street board, and of course my friends back here. But we listened to the businesses. Adam had come downtown. We learned a lot from him of the experience that he had. And not only are we doing that on the front end as far as our business recruiting plan, but we developed an incentive program. So we're trying to get that out to people to address some of the challenges that they have.
Very good. Thanks. Anybody in the audience have any comments on this? Mr. Yenzer, you always have a comment.
I mean, I probably always have a comment for everything, sure. I think to echo what everyone has already said, the faster you can put together just basically a playbook so that every single person, doesn't matter what sort of business you're creating, they get handed, these are your steps. Make it as simple as humanly possible, KISS theory in action. And I think that that's going to give everybody that opportunity so that they never feel like there's favoritism, so that they never feel like they're getting a few different avenues, whereas other people might have had an easier way. Just make it egalitarian and across the board, and I think that you'll be fine.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Deckard, is it a possibility to create some type of playbook?
Absolutely. It's in the process of being completed right now. So it will be a living, evolving document, obviously, as we progress through this and as the needs grow and they change, it will be a living document. But like I said, Danielle is a highly experienced. I can't tell you how impressed I am over the last couple of weeks with Danielle and her group. With, they have 4 out of the development services that have early retirement, and that's a whole bunch. And I mean, they haven't even missed a step. She just steps right up, and Arnold has helped, and Brian. I mean, we all have stepped right in, and in that same process, she has those items already developed, but not specifically for our community. She's been in other communities, and so we're just in the process of getting those developed for our community and the specificities of our community. So she's great at that. So super excited about where that's going. And, it is important as somebody who sits in this chair that knows just a little bit about it, but enough to know when you get good people in and you get good direction and you get good backing, you can do anything. And that's where we're headed. And the economic development and the development services, all of that goes hand in hand. And as you stated and the mayor said, we're open for business. And we're not going to be the redheaded stepchild, excuse my language for redheaded, but we're not going to be the stepchild of Oklahoma City anymore. I mean, that's it. We're in for, I mean, if they want to tangle, we'll tangle. So, and we've got the right people in place, so.
When can we expect to see the play-by-playbook done?
Well, I'm not going to give you a timeline in a sense that we're working on it, and we're working on backfilling some positions. They had a meeting yesterday with a group here in Oklahoma that provides inspection services. We've lost, Mitch has buku years and how much knowledge, and we still have access to him through a contract that we've signed with him. Miss him tremendously. And then John Taylor, and then Claudia, and then Dell. And so this group will provide those services as we need them. So as we move forward, that department is going to shift, and I don't really can tell you what it's going to look like right now, but it's going to shift in how it's set up, and we'll design that to help the customer. That's who we want this feedback, so that's who, we're not making it easier on us. We want to make it easier on them so people can come in and have a fair, I mean, we hear I've heard the same thing. People seem to get fair treatment, and this guy gets this one, this lady gets that one. Well, we all know that there might be a little bit of truth to that, but that's not going to happen anymore. It's going to be, you'll have a packet. Here it is. If you're building this business, this is what you're going to expect, and this is when you expect it. And that's coming. I'm not going to give you a timeline. Once we get the department set and then in the direction, we'll have that out and we'll distribute that out, and it will be on every platform that we've got.
Mr. Chair, I got a question on that. How long have you known that you had an issue of processes since you began?
How long have I
Mr.
known?
Deckard, yeah.
28 years.
Okay.
Now, that's probably a poor answer. It's developed and it's evolved over those years. I mean, we stop and think what 28 years was, what it was like 28 years ago. Well, it's not even close to what it is now. I mean, you know, not even close. We can all remember going headed south to Mustang and thinking from here to Mustang took 2 hours, and there was nothing in between. So it's evolved into a point where it has grown to a point where, you know, the evolution has sometimes been behind and sometimes been ahead, and so it's an ever changing world in what we deal with. Right now, you go to 10th Street, you go south of 10th Street, and it makes me sick, just to be honest with you, because none of that money comes to Yukon. Now, that's competitive, and that goes, and that's the way it goes, but we're going to compete to get businesses to come into our community so we can provide some place for our citizens and other citizens to come. Part of that is making it streamlined in the development services process. So my initial answer is very poor in a sense that that's not fair to Mitch and the guys that did it before, simply because they grew with it, and we're going to continue to grow with it. And we're building bases off what they've got, and now we have new eyes and new experience on that. And I love that. I love it when you have come in and you have new eyes on a set of plans, and they bring in their experiences, and sometimes you use them, sometimes you don't. It develops into a hybrid, and that's where we're at right now. So
I think one thing that you mentioned though, and I'm just going to be a little bit critical on it, is that when you said there's not going to be any favoritism, of course you don't want there to be any favoritism, but I think a better way to look at that would be everybody is now favoritized. And so you can streamline that to where everybody feels like, holy cow, Yukon is on top of it. Look at this. Something that was going to take 2 weeks took them 3 days. Something that took a week, now I got done. They said the inspector showed up that day. I mean, I think it's prioritizing success in every single situation. And every single situation is totally different as well. But you can make everybody feel prioritized. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
100%, I appreciate that.
Burdine, did you want to come up?
Yeah,
And
do you want me to come up there?
Sure.
Do I have to do the address now?
We'll just keep with tradition.
Stephanie Burdine, 515 Maple. I love what I'm hearing, but please explain to me, how is the process to market this? How does the word get out? Because if we're gonna go and do all this, which we need to do, how do we market this so people know, man, let's go check out Main Street in Yukon. Let's go see if this is where we need to be, because I've heard about all this. So how do people hear about it and know they need to come out here?
That's a great question. Mr. Carduccio, can I pull you back up here? And I'm going to kind of ask her question. As a business owner, if you come in and things are streamlined and things are moving quickly and it gets you in your business and it's up and going in a short amount of time.
Yep.
As a business owner, how do you get the word out to other businesses, other friends or whatever?
Yeah, it's the question was being asked. I'll just be candid. My immediate thought was from a business owner developer side. I don't know if the city of Yukon talking about it is going to market you like a business person saying, being in the paper or on social media saying like, this has been the best experience we've had in the area. Like, we're so excited to be here. We're going to do something else. Like, they're in the paper talking about their development and why they chose Yukon. That's going to draw more eyeballs and more attention. And so maybe that's part of the PR team and everything, working with your businesses to start getting that out there a bit. That's one thing. But the other thing I would say, the general contractors that are going to be doing the construction and doing the development that there's relationships with, I'm telling you, I could like all of you, but if my GC has a problem with your inspector and everything else, I'm probably not doing the next project here because you're costing me time and money and you're giving me a headache. So that's make them happy, market to them, because they're also going to start recruiting and bringing business here. That would just be my thought.
So
I hope that helped.
Like professional trade organizations, like the various things in the construction industry, your civil engineer, major contractors, that kind of stuff, kind of market to them, and we've made the process easier. Because I agree with you, people, I mean, we've built and remodeled a lot of houses, and the residential can get just, I've poured more concrete than probably a lot of other people doing the same thing as me. And, so that is, I think, something that where you get that out to the people that are actually, you know, in charge of doing the work, need to know this too, that it's not a hassle to go get a permit, and you don't need to be in the good old boy system to, you know, make sure you can do your work out here.
Yeah, and I guess part of what I was signaling was, it's one thing for me to come in as a, hey, we want to buy land, we want to build a business, and we want to come into Yukon, and I get a playbook, and I know what to do. But candidly, and some of this may depend on the type of business you have, I think is your point. The type of business that we'd be doing, I'm going to hand most of that playbook to my GC or my partner that's going to be doing that. And he's going to be the one, or she is going to be the one that is going to call. I'm going to interface with Danielle, and she's going to get tired of me. She's been so helpful to me. Like when I was talking about calling and having questions in meetings, like she's been great.
Boy, that's the truth.
Yeah. But he's the one that's going to call for engineering. And if there's a permit problem, or if I get a letter from you all that says something's wrong, he's my first phone call. And he's the one that's going to have to call you. If his experience is bad, then when I call him and say, hey, I'm looking at this parcel of land, and we're looking at this parcel of land south of 10th or north of 10th, and we're thinking of doing this, can you help me engineer it? He's going to say back to me, well, we want to go south of 10th because it's going to take so long. Like, that's going to happen. And then it doesn't matter, the playbook, the deal's dead. So that was my point on that piece. The experience that they're having with the team, I think, is going to help you, especially because we're talking about Main Street. How do we take some of the vacant facilities? How do we add? How do we build some housing and do some stuff here? So that industry is going to be key. That's my point.
Mr. Chairman, I think Vicky would like to speak on this too.
Yeah,
Thank you.
just to follow up, and on the flip side of the processes, when it comes to Main Street and your small businesses, conversely to a business that opens several different locations and the use of a developer, it's very different on Main Street. First of all, it's an already built environment, and many of them are historic, so we're getting that with the next agenda item. However, on the business side of things, many of these entrepreneurs and small business owners are doing it for the very first time. So to Pam's point, to get them to understand that they need a business license, that's just very basic. Whereas if they are more of a franchise in the development, they already understand that they have specialty folks in the different categories that come in and help a business get opened up. But from our Main Street perspective, we try to walk them through that process. We provide the resources for developing that business plan, and even to help them. One of the things that we do with one of our workshops is really impress on the fact that you might know for this particular property everything that you need to do, but when that didn't work out and now you're looking at another property, we need to go back through that whole process, because what a property requires of a particular business is going to be different from one property to the next, because the properties aren't the same, the businesses aren't the same. So we're really having to go right from the very beginning. So that is exactly what we're trying to address, and to build that into the processes is very important. I think Danielle had at our workshop, the last time that we met, we have a workshop next week coming up for the small businesses as well. And Danielle and I think Amanda were there, and they just kept emphasizing, come into development services, come into development services, we're your first step, we're your first step, we're your first step. And the feedback that we got was that we did not know that, and that has helped us to get set up with our business.
Very good, thank you. All right, anybody else like to speak on this? Did Mr. Morris join us? No? Okay. Well, I'd like to make a motion on this to have Mr. Deckard at the next meeting, if you could, give us an update of the playbook. of where it's at and where your vision is on that. So I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion, any more discussion?
What do you want to see in the playbook?
Mr. Deckard was talking that he was working with Danielle to streamline a new business of, this is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, here we go.
Do you think the playbook is the entire answer, or do you think some of the streamline is in the processes in the offices?
I think the whole thing, it all ties together.
Yeah, we'll start at the processes and procedures. And again, Danielle brings a wealth of knowledge, so that, I'm not gonna say all of it is there, but the synopsis and the outline of that is basically in place. And now our job is to either add the uniqueness of our, because, you know, a lot of the towns that have this do not have a 66, Route 66 run to the middle. And we have Route 66, and we have Garth Brooks, we have I-40, we have, so there, it is a massive comprehensive plan, and so it will, again, be a living one. And so we'll take what she knows and the experience and so forth, and then we'll create that into what benefits the people who want to build businesses in Yukon. That's where we're at. So we're gonna take that, build that in, and then we will create, and we've stuck on the word playbook in a sense, but it'll simply be the processes and procedures, and then we'll divide that or make that into a packet or whatever we think is the best way to
Jeff,
handle that out.
I understand all that, but there's one thing, we're not reinventing the wheel.
Absolutely not.
That's one thing, and that's why I was asking Mr. Wooten about your processes. I think that is a very minute part of the big picture of what you want to grow.
Okay.
And see, I think it's more internal and inviting to be on top of it to get the jobs done. And I personally went through the same thing. So I think it's the more welcoming when he comes up and talks. He even told you it's not the packet or anything. They can do the packets in house of any company or corporation
Right.
that comes in. That happens with every city they go into. It's how they're welcomed by the individuals and by the staff and the time frames that we get those things
Absolutely.
done.
And
That
part-
to me is more important than
Oh,
a
and part of-
booklet that you may bring in. Not to go against that. I think you need that. That's not reinventing the wheel.
Right, 100%. And part of that process is that portion of it, is the internal processes that we use so they can get to the businesses and have an experience like Michael has experienced or voiced here tonight. So that's why I keep going back to that. That's part of that process. And we have had 4 turnovers, and so we are going to work very diligently at getting those internal processes so we can have somebody, you know, Stephanie calls out and she goes, wait, we're going to pour a driveway at 3 o'clock and it's 1 o'clock. Can you get out here? Well, we want someone to be able to get out there in 30 minutes so they can pour. That's the processes I'm talking about. We are not. Yeah, we are not you're exactly. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're not doing any of that. It is, the main thing is the internal processes of how she'll operate her business, what we can do to get her, not business, but her department, what we can do to get her the things she needs so she can be that efficient and that effective.
Perfect.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
So, Mr. Ellis, let me toss it your way. Would you like to amend the motion to kind of tie in with what you were talking about there?
No,
Okay.
because I don't think that is what I'm talking about. I don't think is on a measuring stick. I think what I'm talking about is a measuring stick of a gentleman like him coming up and saying, you know what, working in Yukon was pretty damn good, or you know, it's the same lip and toss that we've had every other time. I think it's going to be by leadership and expectations within those offices at the city. That's what I think, and I don't think that's so. I don't want to amend it, but I want it to be warranted and overviewed. And I think that comes from leadership from this horseshoe and from that seat over there.
All right, so the motion is to instruct Mr. Deckard by the next meeting to kind of give us an update on this playbook and the ideas and the
We'll
process.
give you the overall, and we'll have internally we call that organizational chart. I'm not a big fan of charts and all that kind of stuff. I'm an outline guy, but we'll have an outline or an organizational chart of how they'll handle it internally. Again, that process can be, diverted or depending on what the project is. But one of the things that I have strived for in this change over is to make sure she knows exactly what her duties are. And then she is going to make sure everybody in there knows exactly what their duties are. And then every one of those duties are going to have those famous words at the bottom, and other. And we will do whatever it takes in the and other to make sure that these processes are efficient and effective and timely. So we'll have a better understanding and a more of a direction by the next time we do that. And Danielle, she can speak to it a whole lot better than I can when we get to that point, because she already has all this in her mind, how all this is going to work. So, but we will definitely have you again, we've stuck on playbook, but we'll have, how we're going to do that in the processes. And hopefully we'll have some examples of how that's worked. That's what you're getting to, is how examples of how this worked, to where we can make sure that we're guiding and making sure we have accountability in that.
Did we have a second on that? Okay. All right, if there's no more discussion, let's call roll.
Wooten.
Yes.
Shriver.
Yes.
Crossley.
Yes.
Tippins.
Yes.
Goodwin.
Yes.
Shelton. Ellis.
Yes.
All right. Next item, discussion and possible action regarding vacant commercial properties located on Main Street and throughout the city limits of Yukon, including an overview of which properties are currently vacant, how long they have been unoccupied, the known reasons for vacancy, and efforts and strategies being implemented to encourage occupancy. Vicky? Would you like to discuss this one?
Sure, thank you.
I think in our packet, you should have some addresses and businesses.
Yes, thank you, and I've used this as a boost to go back to some of the connections that I've had in the past to update some things. So I have, our Main Street organization has done what we can to connect with property owners, and as a matter of fact, that was one of our goals for our Economic Development Committee this year, was to further engage with property owners. So the first thing I want to point out is I was asked to develop a list of vacant properties. So there are many different categories. So not all vacant properties are available properties. That's really important to understand, especially when you're talking about your historic district. Some of them are what I would consider an occupied vacancy, that it's maybe not going to be available, but it's not necessarily housing a business. Maybe it's used for storage, or the will of the property owner is just to leave it as it is, or for whatever reason. There's one particular they can think of that it's a small property in front of another business that has recently, like in the last 5 years or so, had a business leave, but they didn't want to fill it again because they want to use the parking around there. So there's different reasons for that. Then there's others that are vacant but far from ready to occupy with the business. And what I mean is that they would need significant code correction to go in there. So this is one thing that I would love to have a greater conversation with the city to talk about some of the existing building codes that we could apply to historic buildings, because if a property owner is looking at, well, I have to do all of these things to bring it up to code like a new building would be, but there is an existing code an existing building code. So it takes a lot more education with the inspectors and stuff to do that, but it's kind of meeting in the middle instead of expecting a historic building to meet all of the new building codes. Huge, much longer conversation. So here, I think the 21 different spaces. A couple of them have 2 different spaces in there. There's some that I have worked with some prospective tenants or purchasers for. You just never know when those are going to hit and when they're not going to hit. But only 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, what I'd say would be more of the turnkey that would be able to put a business right in. And of that, at least one of them, the property owner says, well, it could be, but we'd have to do some work in there. So somebody's gonna have to invest in the property, and quite often with our smaller places downtown, they will expect a tenant to invest in that property. Then I would say that there are some other of our vacancies that are simply, I want to put this delicately, that would simply be difficult for a business to have a business plan where they could meet the rent with a reasonable percentage of their sales or their income. And so that is also challenging. So for instance, if it's priced out to be more consistent with a chain or franchise that would be out on the interstate, sometimes if you check in with those franchises, if you go to the retailing events, we're not even going to meet ever the demographics that those businesses require. And so there's a dichotomy, and some of the properties are just left in the void.
We said there was roughly 20 here.
Right.
How many businesses do we have on Main Street?
We have, so businesses and organizations is
Sure.
just shy of 150.
Okay. So we have 150 that are
Yes.
occupied and being
And that's
used.
specific to the one block. If we go back another block, which is more of our downtown district, there would be even more.
So 150 of the 170
Yep,
spots.
let's just say
roughly.
150 roughly.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Mr. Decker, do you got any comments on this? Any thoughts?
Well, we're going to work with Vicky and have been working with Vicky on just the overall comprehensive plan of incorporating, I think she's felt like she's kind of on an island, is kind of what I'm catching when we talk and so forth. And we're, working with her and the chamber. And so bringing everybody together, get them on the same page is the process or the goal right now so we can move forward. We had a meeting today with a company called Retail Coach. It was outstanding there, and we made sure we included the Main Street on there. We made sure we included out west, I-4, all of that good stuff. And then we also are working with a couple other companies to help bring in the economic development policy. So that will be a huge part of that as we move forward.
Pam, do you want to touch on this? It's kind of your world too.
That's what I'm sitting there thinking, and about ways we can get more businesses to town. I think
Turn
there's
your mic
a
on.
lot of shows that I don't know. Oh, sorry. Teacher, don't think about it. Okay, ways we can get other businesses to town and educate them. And there's, like I said, the new business packet, but also maybe have some workshops that besides the Edge, like the Edge, but on a constant base, like every other month, like we do new member orientation, but like how to start a business, how to keep a business. The people just aren't educated on this, and they think that they can start a business, and they have no idea. I couldn't start a business. I can run a business, but I couldn't start a business. So I think we need to, it's education. We need to get the people that are willing to, maybe there's partnerships we could get. Some people want to do a business, they can't do it, but they can fund it, but then we need people to work together to get that business going. There's just so much opportunity, and we just haven't found it yet. So
Mr. Schreiber, can I pick your brain? Go ahead. You had a business on Main Street. What was the pros, the cons, the difficulties?
My challenge was a little bit different because of my neighbor. I mean, I'll just be honest. I mean, that was my big struggle. Yeah, that was my biggest struggle, I believe. Honestly, is a lot of these businesses, we were blocked in for a year and a half where people could even see our storefront, and there's nothing to protect a small business from that. It was perfectly legal and fully intentional.
Sure it was.
So my scenario was a little bit different. So than just opening a business and maintaining it here on Main. So I really ain't got a dog in that fight, really.
Jeff, I have another question.
Come on up here.
To go back to what Pam said about the groups and meetings and stuff, well, we have two bankers right here, I believe. I mean, one thing that helped me when Tony and I were first starting out being self-employed is I think it was out through the VOTEC had a class on how to start a small business and what was required. And that was valuable information to me to understand, just ask people, do they have a P&L? They don't even know what a P&L is, a profit and loss. They don't understand, then if hey, I'm self-employed, now I want to buy a house. Well, probably not, because you're self-employed, and if you're doing things right, you're really not going to show much of a profit. So I think there's a lot of, like you said, education to help people, because people have great ideas all the time for new businesses, but the hurdles to get there are huge. And then I have one more thing. How are current regulations with being able to serve alcohol stopping Main Street from being able to develop? And does that need to be looked at to changing laws? I'm just saying, if a restaurant wants to open up and they're almost across the street from the Baptist church, are they gonna be able to serve alcohol? Are we stopping business because of that? That's my question.
Yeah, Vicki, if you want to touch on that.
Yes, I do. And it's in the same, I don't think anybody's looking to have like Saloon Alley or anything.
No, I don't
But
want that.
if they have a restaurant, they do, to have a restaurant and to have complimentary alcohol. So that's the very first question when somebody wants a food and drink place is, do you plan to sell alcohol? And Danielle could address this better because she's my first question. It's like, okay, how does this affect this particular business? And I know in communities where I have been before, we had like an overlay district, so we were able to address some of those nuances for downtown to create the type of cultural entertainment type of place that, you might want to have, or cultural, whatever that you might want to have. If you define that, then we can work towards, coming up with that strategic plan for downtown. But you're right, there are because of the density of downtown and everything is really on top of each other, which works for you, but only if you can function within that.
Do we have a strategic plan right now for downtown?
We do not. I think there was a time when we had a conversation when they were doing the update for the strategic plan, and for some reason downtown was pulled back out of it. I was told that so we could address that later, and we were hoping to do that for this year. But of course, we've had some of our staffing changes, and so we're really wanting to do that, and of course, comprehensive with the city.
Miss Danielle.
I can address the ABLE question. So for our alcohol, we rely on what the state ABLE Commission tells us to do. Now, in 2018, when they did an update, they allowed for businesses that were within that 300 foot of a church, if they was to get the church's permission, that they could still serve alcohol, even as far as a bar, just without serving food. So that is something that the state has done to help in situations like this of downtowns where there's churches as well, and where the community I came from was a very similar situation, and was able to get one open down there as a restaurant and bar, and was able to get it open as within 300 foot of a church. So It's not really at the city level anything that we're doing different. It's just the state statutes that have changed that allow that to occur, but they have to get that permission from the church.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments or?
I have one more thing. SBA, Small Business Authority, they are amazing, and we've gotten several new businesses in Yukon that have worked through there, and they've gotten loans. Creative Corner, that's over there by where the old movie theater. She spoke with all the superintendents and the economic development from the Canadian County Group just this last week, and her story is amazing. So we've got a lot of things that we can offer. And that's just something we need to all work together to offer to help these businesses come to town.
Okay. Anybody have any possible action that we want to do on this? How about make a motion to instruct Mr. Deckard to get with staff and whomever else you need to maybe start kicking the idea of a strategic plan for the downtown area.
Yes, sir.
You get a second on that?
Second.
Any discussion on that? And Mr. Deckard, you can bring that to us at the next meeting, just where you're currently sitting at and all that.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, if there's no more discussion, let's take a vote.
Wooten,
Yes.
Shriver,
Yes.
Crossley,
Yes.
Tippins,
Yes.
Goodwin,
Yes.
Shelton, Ellis.
Yes.
All right. Next item, adjournment. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight.